Okay, everybody, it is Thursday, February 9th, 2017. My birthday is in, wait, how many days? 5 days from now. So, hey, make sure you give me a lovely Valentine's card, Christmas card, Valentine card. I'm going to be 47. Yay. But anyways, you don't care about my birthday because I don't even celebrate my birthday. It's just the day I was born. But I had no say in the matter, okay? I really didn't at the time.
Nobody's put on purpose.
But this Sunday, we're going to have a little mini event, nothing extravagant. Onedrop Sunday here, or excuse me, Onedrop Sunray here, kind of wants to discuss my quote unquote, how'd you put it there? Ideological disposition. And you clarify that to mean religion and evolution. And so, yeah, I'm happy to have a discussion with you. We've talked prior, and I don't think we talked about that, but discuss this Friday because I'll have like a more of a one-on-one or limited, session with you.
Yeah, more so your religious view and some aspects, I guess, of evolution in as much as how far awareness and consciousness plays a part into the development of those things thereof.
Well, I guess my religious view, my theological position, as everybody knows by now, is I'm agnostic, meaning that I really just don't evaluate the claim God exists or God doesn't exist. I don't really care either way because I'm more of an apatheist at this point. But what do you want to talk about? Agnosticism, or do you think I'm an atheist?
No, I don't think you're an atheist. I've heard you say several times that you were agnostic, so I definitely, yeah.
So what time do you want to do this Sunday?
Sunday afternoon. Is 3 o'clock fine for you?
Pacific time?
I'm on the East Coast, so what would be good for you?
Okay. I don't want to make it too late for you. How about 4 o'clock your time, which would be 1 o'clock my time?
Okay, that sounds great.
Does that work for everybody? How much time do you have today? I know you said you were kind of busy today, but
I have about 45 minutes.
Well, I don't mind having like a preliminary thing, what we're going to be discussing for 45 minutes. Go ahead, ask anything you like. I don't mind.
Yeah, like I said, I messaged you. I'm going over some of your shows to actually get a more quantified view of your perspective. I know you don't like young earthers. I hear a lot of that on some of your shows as well.
The young earthers themselves, there are young earthers I do like. Wyatt Minkus is a young earther. I really like him a lot. There's a few young earthers I like. I don't like the concept of young earth because I know without a doubt that it's just utterly ridiculous. Matter of fact, just today, somebody had recommended a video to me. A friend of mine named Jake P, not Jake Herder, but Jake P, and he wanted me to watch a video on Noah's Ark. And I told him, I said, I really don't want to sit through long videos on YouTube where something that I know is just not reality, but I'll check it out. And I went to it, and did you know what happened to be, Onedrop? It was Trey Smith's video. Are you familiar with him?
Not familiar with Trey Smith, no.
It was a video he did a while back. It's got like 2 million hits. And it's just chock full of errors, right? Just so many misconceptions and just outright mistakes, right? So, yeah, it's not the person, the younger creationists, I have anything against. It's what they do, what they say, and how they kind of, I think, most of them mislead people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of misinformation, even from the standard side of things. So yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah. So you are a younger creationist, right?
No, I'm not. Totally not.
Okay, you're an older creationist.
Well, I do believe that the process of, I guess, ever since the Big Bang did take billions of years to evolve. Yes.
Okay. So you're more of I would say, either an older creationist or a.
I'm not a creationist in the sense of the modern terminology, that classification, no. But only in the sense of maybe that there is an intelligent aspect to the process.
Well, sorry, rather than fish around for labels, why don't you ask about specific beliefs? Like, do you think that humans and, say, for example, gorillas have a common ancestor?
That's a good
I think
question.
I definitely do. We all definitely have atoms, so we're definitely connected via that. Yeah, definitely do.
Well, no, I didn't ask. Yeah, I mean that we have, like you and I have a common ancestor, right? We're cousins, right?
Yeah, definitely. All
You
humans
don't know
have a
me,
common
but yeah,
ancestor. Yes.
yeah. You know that we might be 97th cousins, 17 times removed. But and by that same logic, I mean, if you go back far enough through the generations, eventually you're going to find an ape that is both an ancestor to all existing humans and an ancestor to all gorillas. Do you believe that's the case?
Yeah, we are all still
Okay.
part of the ape family. Yeah,
Okay.
we're still apes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fun fact, Hogtie. If you're going to say like a 97th cousin, it's always going to be one less removed from that. So it's be 97th cousin, 96 times removed.
Not necessarily.
No, I was just going off of like the typical genealogy tree.
Yeah, you can't be more times removed than the order of cousin. But like, for example, I have a second cousin who, I would say second cousin, not removed or 0 times removed, because we're at the same level on the chart.
Okay.
But our most recent common ancestor is 3 generations back, so we'd be second cousins, not at all removed. Or the
Right.
parent of my second cousin would be my second cousin once removed or first cousin once removed, whatever it is.
You can have like a second cousin first removed, but you couldn't have a second cousin third removed, right?
Right, yeah.
Anyway,
All right, so you accept common ancestry. So I think it maybe, if I can go off on a limb here, you're questioning a thing about evolution is more where things like maybe morality came from or intelligence and things like that.
Just basically I don't know if your agnostic point of view clouds your view of things being more consciously involved in nature, or the awareness of nature from an intelligent aspect. I think that that's pretty much where we part ways.
Well, I don't want to say nothing clouds my judgment on it. I just haven't really seen any real evidence of anything requiring some kind of, other than our own to make things happen. Like I don't believe there's like a consciousness of the universe that per se that just kind of said, oh, I wanted to design the universe and everything in it, and I don't know if I can accept that yet because I just don't see any evidence for it or any need for that matter. That's the key thing is the need. Does it require a teleonomic need? No, I don't think so. That's
And is that based on the quantification of that our instruments allow us to process?
No, it's based upon that I can observe things in the universe and say, can I come up with an explanation for this that doesn't require teleological explanations? And I say, yes, I can. Teleonomically, nature can do amazing things. Does nature require anything to have put it in place? Not necessarily. There's nothing philosophy-wise I can think of that would require that.
So,
I mean, it's quite possible. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there isn't some kind of universal conscience, but I don't see a need for it. That's the difference.
okay, so basically you would say that humans are the most consciously aware, intelligent species in the universe.
Well, I have no idea what the universe holds. I couldn't even make that comparison. I have no other example of what an intelligence would look like or be like elsewhere in the universe. Now, on the planet Earth, as far as we're aware, we're probably the most self-aware, but that doesn't mean that some animals aren't self-aware. They're sentient beings other than our own. I mean, I think dolphins are highly intelligent.
Okay, that's a step forward, because I know before in the past that you kind of didn't give animals a sort of self-awareness or self-conscious or having an aspect of being having a self.
I think they could. I think that I mean, isn't it like chimpanzees right now would be considered to be somewhere in like the early Stone Age? In comparison to where we were, I mean, who knows where they might be millions of years from now on the evolutionary tree. I mean, they obviously can never become human, but they surely could become very intelligent creatures, right?
Right, correct. But I know before you had that argument before that certain animals you don't believe have a level of self-awareness or consciousness.
Well, my argument was that like all animals don't. Some I never said that some couldn't or some don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I think like a mosquito is self-aware? No, probably not. Do I think bacteria are self-aware? No, not all. They just don't have the brains to be able to even be self-aware.
Okay.
And there's some people in our community that think every cell has some kind of intelligence and self-awareness. I think that's just way out there. That I don't buy into at all.
Well, do you believe that self-awareness works its way up from the ground up?
I do believe it is an emergent property. I believe that the way the brain is, it just happens to produce something that we call consciousness, which is a self-awareness. But again, the question goes to: is an intelligence required to have a consciousness? I mean, to produce something like the framework for producing consciousness, right? I mean, did our consciousness do we have one just because of a biological and chemical and physics, or is there a grand intelligence out there that planned it that way? Well, the problem with that is if there was a grand intelligence that planned it that way, well, what planned him? And you just have this infinite regress problem.
Well, I think that plays into the emergent process. I think it's all an aspect of emergence.
So there was no grand designer?
I think that the self-awareness emerged into everything. Yeah.
But our intelligence is an emergent property of our own minds. Are we somehow connected to an emergent property of some other mind?
Well, I mean, our minds are only aware or consciousness. You know, we are able to perceive that based on our senses. You know, the trees, the light, the sun, the water. You know, the five senses and the things in nature that triggers those signals. So without us, those signals are still there.
No, I agree. I mean, I am kind of an empiricist. I think that the only way we can really observe the universe is through our senses. Now, there might be other ways. I'm not specifically saying that there are no other ways other than an empirical way of doing it, but I think that's the most one we rely on the most. Do we not?
Well, so let me ask you this: when you die, do you think that the you who you are is dead, or is there an aspect of you that still exists?
I don't think there's really an aspect of me that exists at this moment. That doesn't mean it can be. Yeah, I'm not saying that I don't. Yeah, I mean, basically, or I am saying don't have a clue either way. I don't know. I have no idea what happens when you die. I've never been dead before.
Well, everything that makes you up is still going to be here.
The physical aspect is gone, right? I mean, if intelligence or consciousness, especially, is an emergent property, if you lose the mind, the physical aspect of the brain, then how do you have a disembodied in consciousness? We've never seen consciousness would even look like, right? That's why I'm not a substance dualist when it comes to that. At least I have no evidence for substance dualism.
Well, then that goes back to how you quantify perception, because certain plants have perception, and they don't have a brain at all, but they can still communicate. They can still function
but they still have a physical. They still hang on one second. They still have a physical substrate, though. And we have no physical substrate, then no matter what, we have no way to interact empirically with the rest of the environment, right?
Okay, well, from that perspective, the things in the environment that make you up still exist, though.
No, they wouldn't. Go ahead.
Okay, well, like the water is still going to exist. The air is still going to exist. The plants are still going to exist. Maybe some types of food that you exist. The sun is still going to be there. And all of these things make you up. And I guess the individual you, which, your own particular timeline that has been quantified into Steve, that property might not be there. It's like, oh, I'm Steve, I'm Steve, I'm Steve. But a lot of aspects of who Steve is, minus, I guess, the ego, will still be there.
Well, one drop. When you talk about chemical composition of different things, yes, our human bodies do contain water, but they contain more than water. Water is hydrogen and oxygen put together. Okay, what else do humans have? They have carbon, they have calcium, they have iron, they have other trace chemicals, not just hydrogen and oxygen. It's the way those chemicals are arranged that make us different from water.
Right, and that's
but those
emergent
arrangements,
property is, right?
right? Yeah,
It is the
yes, but
arrangement.
it is the arrangement. It's correct.
Right. So if the arrangement is no longer valid, right? If we're dead and that arrangement of what we were is like back to atoms, back to the dirt and the water molecules, then what really remains of us that has a consciousness that can be emerged? Consciousness.
That's the big question. But there is a whole lot of you is still there, though.
Well, I mean, the
And
atoms
the
that
whole-
made
a whole-
me
a
are still
whole-
there
a
until
whole
they
lot of-
maybe form something else, which is possible.
Of-
But
Yes, but a lot of that made you who you are is still there. It doesn't. It's not going. It's not. It doesn't dissipate.
okay,
But
but what about me is special to the atoms that make me up? For example, if I have water molecules that make me up, and the liquefaction state, and that water goes into the ocean, how is that molecule that was part of me any different than the molecule that was part of all the hundreds of thousands of entities it was before? I mean, we are recycled people for a lot of parts. You're still breathing molecules that every other human breathed in at one time, right?
Correct.
We're
So
basically
you're composed of molecules that probably were in other people at one time.
we're literally
So
drinking the same water that the dinosaurs drank all those millions of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to get on
So
the atomic scale?
yeah. So that goes to bring up the question of what really are, what is really you? Like, is it you the accumulation of experiences, or is it you the totality of the vital things that make you up, the essence of it?
Well, I think it's
I think
it's
more
all
so
the
the
above.
essence of the essence. Well, great. It is all
Are
of
we
the
talking-
above.
Are we talking about nature versus nurture here? What makes us us?
Well,
no, we're
definitely
not.
I mean, they both play a part.
Right,
Well, if you're
I
talking-
agree. Go ahead.
Well, we're more than just the compilation of atoms. I mean, what were you trying to say? Are you trying to go for something holistic, like, oh, human beings are greater than the sum of their parts, for instance?
Do you think there's a synergetic effect between nature and nurture, that we are greater than the sum of our parts? Because I mean, that's fine. I have no issue with that.
No, I just don't think that we can distinguish ourselves from those parts.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Because like I said, the parts that make us up were same parts were in countless other people over, hundreds of thousands of years. So if I have an atom that's in me that's been a part of a person, or hundreds of thousands of other people, how is it any specific attached to me? How would I even recognize it to say, oh, this one molecule, this one atom, this was in Steve at one time. This was also in, Isaac Newton at one time, and Albert Einstein at one time. How would you even go about doing an experiment to even test that kind of hypothesis?
Well, I mean, yes, that's the aspect of the collective emergence of consciousness, and because without all of those things, you wouldn't be you. Without humans, if you were the only human, that wouldn't take place. Without the plants, all those things that make you who you are wouldn't exist. You wouldn't exist if they didn't exist. So
don't you think you're putting a kind of an undue amount of a credence into the physicality aspect? I mean, you're saying that all the things that make us up after we die still exist somewhere out there in some form. Therefore, we exist in some form, because I don't think that makes much sense to me.
well, there are even aspects below the atomic structures that make you up that you can't even quantify. Scientists can't quantify. That it's a necessity for who you are.
So you're saying that there's an immaterial source for consciousness?
Of course.
Oh goodness.
So okay, yeah. So you're saying that, okay, you think it's more than just emergence then? I'm trying to follow along the reason here.
I do quantify it to the emergent property, of course, yes. But there are properties of the emergence that are not
an emergence
quantifiable.
from a brain. We have a brain. Would you agree we have a brain? That brain has a consciousness that has emerged from the structure of the brain, the way the neurons interact, the way the brain, is set up, the different, parts of the brain all function to give us some kind of sensory awareness and to give us consciousness.
Correct. But scientists are now on the verge of stating that we have more than one brain, or we have more than one mind, based on the microbes in the belly and how the intestines actually function to influence the way the brain functions.
But that doesn't mean we have more than one mind. I mean, sure, we're being influenced by a lot of different things. I mean, some people can even argue that we don't even have any free will of our own, right? But I don't think anybody would argue that we don't have some kind of consciousness. And I don't know of anything that bacteria-wise is going to affect our consciousness. I mean, it could affect how we maybe feel. Bacterial things make us sick, right? Bacteria is not going to get into our system and change our entire way of thinking, right? You can't communicate intelligence or ideas that way, right? So it's not going to change us fundamentally like that.
Well, I mean, when I deal with it holistically, it's kind of asking, where does this stuff really take place at? I mean, most people would say it takes place in the brain. Most of your body parts have a location on the brain in which they are mapped out, and that's how you function, based on the signals, the synapse, the dendrites, how they correlate, how they fire, how they signal.
Exactly.
And
computers can measure brain signals.
I agree that the brain maps different body parts, and I think maybe Hogtie would probably be the best, obviously, to get into that aspect of it.
Correct.
But how does that really imply that we are more than just, like you said, an emergence? Like, we die, we have nothing left of us. So where do we exist?
That's what I'm saying. When you say when we die, there's nothing left of us. What about all the things that make you up that still stick around after you?
Well, physically, sure. We have a corpse that's left over too.
Okay.
I'm not saying we don't have anything physically left over.
So
let
whatever made us
is no longer there.
Do you believe the accumulation of who you really are, the totality of that, is able to be quantified?
No.
Say, for instance, let's just speak hypothetically from an intelligent, sentient being that actually brought forth the universe. Do you think that it's actually quantifiable from that perception or that perspective?
Go ahead. I don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you.
Well, it's no more quantifiable than to posit that cosmic gnomes with magical chewing gum that we can't detect by any possible means started the universe.
I mean, you can posit anything you like.
That's the problem with supernatural explanations. They're easy to posit and impossible to test or refute.
I mean, if you say there's some kind of intelligence for everything, I mean, like, Enlightened said.
Well, I mean, scientists are even saying that there's an intelligence within a genetic code that actually stopped creating new species in order for the species that are already created to have a longer duration, a longer lifespan, because of the amino acids, how they organize themselves. If they were to create a new species on the planet, everything would possibly go extinct even faster than it's already going extinct without human intervention.
Repeat that again. I'm not following that. Species stop speciating due to amino acids?
Saying the genetic code that creates the different, that sequences the amino acids to create different species. Okay. You follow me there?
Amino acids will be like proteins, are comprised of amino acids. So the different proteins between species.
Okay, great.
Right, the DNA. DNA doesn't.
But the genetic code that processes that is what I'm talking about.
Right, the genetic code is what codes for protein, which is comprised of amino acids. Okay.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So the genetic code that processes all the different living species that exist today stopped creating new species in order to preserve the species that were already created, because had it kept creating new species, everything would have went extinct even faster without human intervention.
But new species are being created every day. Every day there's new species.
Well, I'm just saying, as far as this is based on the scientific community. I'm not a scientist. I don't say I'm a scientist. I study science, but this is their explanation of it, and that there is a level of intelligence in the genetic code that actually stopped it. Well, that the genetic code itself just stopped creating new species on a rapid pace.
So you're saying that
In the
humans
past.
won't speciate again? You're talking about all species or just like humans?
I'm talking about all species.
Okay, well,
Okay,
in
but-
that case, if you've ever eaten any fruits, that's an example of new species.
Yeah, I don't know why you think there's no speciation going on.
No, I
Speciation
didn't
happens
say.
all the
I never
time.
said anything. I said create new species as far as the amount of species that have been created in the past. Like,
Well, a new species
So-
hasn't been a species in the
okay,
past. That's
so-
why it's new.
let me ask you this: the genetic code, how far in the future could it go?
I don't think that's a sensible question. As long as it's something reproduces, the genetic code will keep on
I
going
think
on.
you're
as long
not
as we
following
adapt
me.
to
I
the
think you're not
environment.
following me. You probably need to just study the article, and I think it was in Nature. They actually did a study on it, and it actually, it's actually very insightful. Because
Well, I
they're
don't think you
actually
might be relating
finding.
it right. But go ahead.
I mean, whether I'm relating it right or not, I mean, I'm relating it to the best of the way the article was presented. And the way the article was presented actually said genetic code has self-awareness because it stopped creating vast numbers of species in order to preserve the ones that it already created. Because extinction.
Okay, I don't believe that the genetic code has intelligence or
I
self-awareness.
know you're not.
And I
You
don't
didn't do
think
the
any papers say that.
but you're not a scientist. You didn't do the study.
But we have scientists here and ex-scientists and
But
retired scientists.
do
and
you
I
know
think they
about
would
the
agree
study,
that
though?
they've never. No, but again, I think
Okay,
you're
well, you need
misrepresenting
to-
the study. But do you
well,
have the
no,
study
well-
available and we can look at it? Sure.
Onedrop, it's very possible to have an immortalized cell line. That's what HeLa cells are, as an example.
Yeah. Helix cells are quote unquote immortal. But that just means they've been
Yeah,
around for
right.
a very
Oh my
long
God.
time.
You're,
Because
you're not talking about
cells.
the cells from the woman, are you?
Can we just not let that point slip? And first off, Steve, you want to take a
Yes.
peek at the film strip and or the side chat too? I don't know, I know where you're
Sure,
looking in
what's
your
that?
house, but yeah. It's your choice, but it's just, I don't know if you're just staring out the window while you're there. No,
What am
you're
I
saying,
doing? What am I doing?
huh?
What am I supposed to be looking at?
Okay, well, I don't send a film strip. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I was tabbed out.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't,
Let me give you
yeah,
guys
I wasn't
mods.
yeah, I
Oh
wasn't-
my God! Finally, shit! I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes.
I wasn't recommending either of these gentlemen. I was just pointing out their presence. That's all I was doing.
Present and accounted for. I'm sorry.
Hello, my friends. Good to see you all
Oh
again.
my God! I'm sorry. I wanted to come talk woo.
You want to do what? I'm just stuck on this point of, okay, you're saying, and I'm sorry, who was it? I forgot his name already. Onedrop. You're saying that, okay, because the DNA, the actual code has stopped creating new species, that's how we know that it's intelligent. And that there's intelligence in it. And I just go, I don't even know where to start with that, because I mean, just as a matter of fact,
No, I'm not saying that.
okay,
Let's get that
those
straight.
are the
I'm
words
not a
you used,
scientist.
but that's not what you're saying.
That's,
Well,
yeah,
you're saying
I'm-
scientists say that.
I'm
but we're
repeating-
disagreeing that scientists say that because that kind of doesn't make any sense.
See, that's what I'm saying. You're disagreeing with a study from a
Well,
scientific
no, we're
community.
disagreeing with your interpretation of it, I think, because you don't have the study
well,
available.
Can we get the
Well,
link?
let's,
Can we get
yeah,
the
yeah,
link?
let's ask
we can get
where did you learn this? When you're saying that the scientific community says this, and you're saying it's a study. Where did you learn about it?
Through the actual journal.
The actual journal. Oh, which one? Which journal?
Yeah, look at it. We'll look at it. I'll be happy to.
And if I don't understand it, I'm going to ask Sam, because Sam's actually subscribed to Cell and Nature and a few other major ones.
Well, he'll remember if he read this in a journal. He'll remember the name of the journal.
Yeah, I do remember it, but I've actually gave you enough information to source it on your own. So,
No,
we're done.
you really haven't.
I have anything better to do than to pick up on a conversation that's that dishonest. I've
gonna
sourced it
cite
enough.
something,
I've
come
sourced
on.
it enough that you can look it up on your own.
Yeah,
Come
if
on.
you're gonna say something that
I spoke
yeah.
about it enough because actually we're supposed to have a discussion about some of these topics on Sunday. And
well,
so,
are you going to provide it for us on Sunday? Because I'm not going to go.
Of course, I definitely would.
Okay.
I definitely am.
Wouldn't it be best for both parties or all parties?
I know for a fact that you don't like article. How did you quote it last time? You don't like article research. Or
I never said
articles.
anything of source. I love articles.
Yeah, you like the actual primary, like the journal.
Well,
So-
if you have peer-reviewed research, we can go to NIH, PubMed, JSTOR, and
Right,
go retrieve.
correct. Right. So that's
So
what
this Sunday you're gonna be providing evidence for us
Right,
of a
exactly.
paper that claims that what's the claim specifically that
No new
speciation has
species
stopped.
No new
the
species have been observed.
self-awareness of the genetic code.
Oh, self-awareness of genetics. Okay, so
Genetic code,
genetic code is self-aware. Okay, you're gonna provide that paper. Okay, I want people to remember this. We have we have 40 people watching, so
And this is a study prepared by the scientific community.
Correct.
yes.
Who is the
That's what it says.
scientific community? I might have missed that in my last session of fucking biology.
It's a peer-reviewed publication. I mean, so I'm sure it's a well-respected journal, correct?
Well, of course. So what
It's not
school
something
again
like
was doing this?
Intelligent Design or us or something.
What institute was doing this? What
I don't
university?
have that information right in front of me. I actually could look it up, but I'm just gonna reserve that.
Okay, let me
for,
ask you one, Drop. If what you said is true, if the genetic code has some kind of intelligence, don't you think that would be revolutionary news? I mean, my goodness, I would think that everybody, scientists in the world, would be going, "Oh my God, we have evidence of basically a non-biological thing, as far entity-wise, it's not non-living entity having intelligence." That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it was. It actually was.
Yet nobody's heard of this thing, so it hasn't got much traction.
When you say nobody's heard of this, are you referring to the
nobody in this community?
the 4 people that are on the phone or the
I
audience?
got 40 people watching, and I don't think anybody. Yeah, I don't think any of them has heard of it.
Well,
We're gonna
it's not
ask.
even sure whether people have heard of it or
I'm pretty
not.
sure. I'm pretty sure. I haven't heard of everything scientific. None of us have.
Yeah.
So
Well, again, my point being is if this was so revolutionary to have something that is not a live biological entity having intelligence, I think it'd be one of the biggest news out there, right?
Yeah, that's how I came across it.
Well, disregarding artificial speciation here, if you were just look at it naturally, we have plenty
I
of
don't think it
examples
was
of news.
artificial. But go
Well,
ahead.
if you're talking about humans doing the selecting instead of nature itself, I mean, even though humans are part of nature, if you're talking about just the species doing it themselves, well, then we have plenty of examples of new species arising. For example, a quarter of a century ago, well, 250 years ago, excuse me, we had 2 species, a snowberry magotfly and a blueberry magotfly. And then eventually they gave rise to a new species called the honeysuckle magotfly. Perfect example.
Right. I totally agree that there are new species. Hey, how you doing, man? That there are new species, but I'm not saying that the article was stating that. I'm just saying as the rate at which it created the code for new species in the past is at the same rate that it is for the moment and for the future.
I think I remember actually. Hold on, Steve. I think I remember this. Was this the Jacobo study?
Like I said, I don't have the actual study right in front of me. So
I think it was the Jacobo study. The Jacobo study, and Dr. Strife and Dr. Lionheart actually worked on that. If I'm not mistaken, you don't remember any? Those names don't sound familiar at all.
like I said,
I'm not looking at it, so
For some of your citing, though, you don't seem to remember too many of the details about it.
I'm actually giving you a lot of details about it. I mean,
No, you just said that there's a paper that shows genes have intelligence.
well, I mean, you could actually look it up just based on what I said. I mean, if not, I'll just present that information to you on Sunday.
Well, that's kind of that's
are-
what I'm looking at now. I'm looking at the study by the Materia Institution, and it's saying something here about like degradation happening of some kind of code. I'm not there's a lot of like big words and shit in here, so I'm trying to glean whatever information I can. But I want to say Dr. Strife.
I don't mind waiting to Sunday. He may not have it right off the top of his head, and I get that. And I'm happy to provide plenty of time between now and Sunday for him to cite, find us the citation where we can all look at it. Because
of course.
it's very difficult to talk about
I'm
something
a
where we
journal
haven't
scholar.
seen it.
I mean, I'm a journal scholar. I'm not a scientist. None of my relatives are scientists. I mean, so I just study stuff, and I study reliable, credible work from each field that I, focus on and study from. So yeah.
Okay. And I want to get this on record that you're saying that this was a study have intelligence, basically.
Yeah, that the genetic code of life has
okay.
some level of self-awareness. Yes.
It's almost like a 4-digit binary.
Okay, I mean, I look forward to that on Sunday to seeing what you're referring to, because as of yet, nobody's been able to really find that anywhere or anything remotely close to it. Paul's looked at it already. He says Google Scholar doesn't have anything on it that he can find.
I'm confused. Exactly what part of the genome does contain the means by which it can send out a signal to the other genetic codes out there saying to stop producing? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on that we can't measure, but the snippets that we can measure, you know, scientists are definitely in the lab and they're definitely quantifying it and publishing it as fast as they can. So I definitely will provide that.
Okay.
I don't think that in any way, shape, or form answered this question.
Could you repeat your question?
I'm saying, what part of the genome could you possibly imagine there being like a signal, a way to send a signal out to other genetic codes out there saying to stop producing?
He's asking about the mechanism of how that would say, okay, how is the gene itself going to tell the rest of the system to stop speciating, right?
Like
what they do,
inhibitors?
Speciation is a function of population, right? An
But they do
individual
communicate.
organism has no effect
You
on
agree, right?
speciation; it's a population effect.
I
Right?
know, but you do agree that they do there's a level of communication that's taking place chemically, right?
Yeah, we know about signal
expression.
we know about signal cascades that happen
Yeah,
on the cellular
chemical.
level.
You have communication on all type of levels, whether it's chemical
Sure.
or whatever type of or electrical, whatever.
Yeah, we know there's cell signaling and
Shit!
yeah, sure.
What the hell happened? Wait, hold on. One drop and
about
the
it?
light and both dropped out at the same time. It might have a Google quake. Okay.
Hang on, let me get it back in here. One sec. Okay.
Yeah, I'm back here.
Hannah's asked, do you have any keywords maybe that people can use to try to find the study while they're
Just research genetic code self-awareness.
Okay. So I'm going to put that in the chat.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be great.
There we go. It's in the chat now.
So Fiona, have you heard anything of this nature? I mean, I know this is not directly in your purview, but I mean, are you aware that genes can supposedly have self-awareness according to some study? Fiona?
No.
Succinct answer.
I'm looking right now, and I'm seeing all kinds of stuff on neuroscience, but nothing about a genome being self-aware. Like how would the genome? It's a curious thing, because if you're talking about your entire genome, how is it cognizant? Like, what is it using to infer anything? That's the perplexing part about this.
Right, and just tune in Sunday because I'm gonna bring forth that information. I'm gonna bring forth the journal, the peer review, and study on that. Because I have that stuff saved on my hard drive. I'm actually on my mobile device at this moment.
All right, so that's going to be 1 o'clock on Sunday. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And it was Nature magazine.
I can't find anything at all.
Well, I mean, I guess we're just going to have to wait till he actually gets it to us.
I mean, even if we were to give him the benefit of the doubt, it was cognizant and it was able to communicate with other genetic material out there, there seems to be a disruption in the communication process because we're still getting new species and new genomes.
Yeah, species.
Yeah, I didn't say that it completely stopped. I said that the article or the study actually said that it decreased the level of creation of new species. It didn't say it completely stopped.
Well, you did,
Just imagine.
you did say it completely stopped. And then when we mentioned it a couple of times that that's not true, you a moment ago said, well, no, I didn't say it completely stopped. It slowed down. But let's be honest. You did say that it stopped. If you want to change that to that it's slowed down.
Well, I would say,
but don't try to convince us that there's some sort of. Don't try to convince us. Let me finish. Don't try to convince us there's some.
I got you, because I'm not.
Don't try to convince us there's some sort of Mandela effect going on here. That the rest of us remember you saying that it stopped, and we're the crazy ones. You're the one who's changing what you're saying.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, he did say that. Yes.
Well, if I did say it, then that was probably a mistake, or I misquoted the article. And I'm not perfect, so if that's the case, then hey.
Yeah, no.
Thank you for correcting it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I tell you what. Let me offer this completely unsolicited advice. I think these are interesting conversations. I didn't say much for the first bit you're in here because I want to know what you think. I don't know who you are. I think it's neat. Like, here's somebody with a different viewpoint. I want to know what you think about the world and how you want to talk about these things. I think there's lots of interesting conversations to be had. I think a lot of the stuff you were saying initially, I don't understand. And then you started to shift to, well, you know, the scientific community says this, the scientific community says that. Look, play Sunday however you want to play it. But my honest advice is, tell us what you think. Describe how you come to your conclusions. Describe how these are helpful ideas to us. Just communicate like a person to a person. Don't try to bolster your conclusions about the world by building them up on fictitious scientific studies that you're going to find somewhere.
Well, you know, we're all entitled to our own opinion. So, I mean, you could say what you would like to say, just like I can say what I like to say. But
so I have your permission to say what I want to say. Okay, I appreciate that.
No, but we all come to our conclusions based on other people's information, our interactions with other people, our interactions with the world. So we can't have you won't have nothing to say unless you have communication with something outside of yourself, or some other level aspect that's inside of you.
What?
Go ahead.
What has that got to do with anything that Hog Tie Champ just said?
Yeah, nothing. Because what he's trying to tell you is that, you know, if you're going to have a conversation of what you think and reasons why. But you don't need to like start using things like, oh, well, scientists say, because, you know, there are different scientists that say different things. And unless there's some kind of huge scientific consensus on a specific thing, then you can't really say scientists say this. You can say, okay, there's a scientist in this particular field that has written this about this, and you can give us a citation for that, which you say you're going to do Sunday. But you can't just say, well, scientists that ever said that genes have a consciousness or a self-awareness ever.
You know, I'm saying, just try to explain to us what.
Yeah, scientists say a lot of things. Like scientists say so much things. So scientists say, you know, some scientists they write mythological books based on their science.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is, look, try to explain to us what it is you're thinking. Try to explain to us your thoughts and your ideas and your conclusions. Try to help us understand what it is you're thinking about the world, rather than try to prove to us that what you're thinking is true before we even understand what you're saying. There's no point in trying to say, well, I can cite this paper or cite that paper that proves something I believe.
Well, that was only one point. That wasn't like every single thing that I said. That was one point that everyone wanted to talk about.
I know, but do you see how that derailed the conversation? Like once we got into this discussion,
everybody was interested in that one point, so we kept talking about it.
Well, everybody, I don't know. I'll speak for myself here. I was calling bullshit because I mean that's the thing you just said was, you know,
that's fine.
But say, we're genuinely interested. I mean, I don't mean to be dismissive of what you're saying because I'm actually interested more in what you think, rather than, you know, calling you out on making up a citation that we're never going to see.
Right. I mean. That's great. I mean, he asked me, could I talk? I said I could. I don't have the reference right here. I spoke about it. And I mean, that's that. I mean, we can talk about something else.
Sunday.
And that's cool. Let me say, by the way, I do have to leave, and I feel bad about this now because, you know, I think it's nice that you're coming out to talk with things about people. And now I'm saying this thing to you, and I really honestly mean it as helpful advice. But I kind of said it like, okay, well, look, just tell us what you think, but don't do this and this and this. And now I'm going to leave. And I sort of feel like you think I'm mad about it. I'm not. I literally actually have something else to do. So I just welcome to these discussions. And you know, I look forward to, I'll listen to the thing on Sunday. I look
Thank
forward to
you.
hearing what you got to say.
I appreciate you, and it's always
Okay.
intellect over emotion. So
True enough. Okay. Great. Take care, folks.
Okay. So it's
See you
going to be
later,
Sunday,
Hong Kong.
1 o'clock Pacific time.
So what's that, like 3 my time?
So, I mean, I just want to reiterate, you will be providing that link, that citation, because, I mean, everybody's going to be expecting it.
yes,
So, okay.
definitely,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, like I say, I'm a journal scholar, and can you hear me clearly?
Well, let's go on the premise like this. So that the genes. Now you had to go back to a paper. Obviously, is just evidence for something. So.
Yeah, I'm still here.
You guys there? Can you hear me? Am I lagging?
I thought I heard you lagging.
I think I'm.
Yeah, actually, Steve. Yeah, Steve, you're having that. Yeah, Steve's having that bit of a lag. I'm going to recommend Steve do an F5.
Fiona, can you hear me?
No, we can't.
You're picking up, Steve.
Yeah, you might want to reconnect, or I don't know what else happens at your end because I know you're on different software. At least one person with control room should stay in the room while he innotes. If you want to do that, Steve, what do you want to do? Your room.
Yeah, it just lagged today. I'm getting lag on my system.
Shut down now.
Well, I hear you clearly now.
Yeah, I am. 1 sec.
Shut down all the background, and especially the live chat.
No,
Live
I gotta be able
chat.
to see my live chat.
Yeah, but the live chat I've discovered is guzzling memory.
Damn you, live people!
It guzzles memory because of all the icons.
You guys really need to invest in octa-core machine. It's so good.
I need a quantum computer. I'm gonna try closing everything but the live feed because I want to be able to keep that open. Okay, how's this?
It seems a bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. I don't hear lag now.
Yep, better.
Yeah, like I said, this computer can do the basics, but after that, it gets bogged down really quickly. All right,
It's
so where
something
were we?
that Google has changed about Hangouts, Steve. The Hangouts themselves seem to be using up an awful lot more memory.
The
And then the
memory
live
intensive?
chat just adds on top of that.
Yeah,
it's
and I don't think they released them.
unbelievable.
I don't think they released the memory. I think it basically is like Opera. What it'll do is has memory leak, and even if you close it out, it doesn't even release the memory properly.
No, this is all down to something weird Google's done.
Hmm.
Because it's actually got to the stage now where I can't have anything open except the Hangout. It's got worse.
Yeah, see, that's kind of annoying though. I need to have a couple things open. I can't even look anything up during this stuff because it just slows
No,
down. the
I
computer.
can't either now.
Yeah. Oh well. Where were we at? So that's what's going to happen this Sunday. You're going to provide that for us. But again, what are you trying to imply if genes have a self-awareness? And do each gene has a self-awareness? Is each gene an individual consciousness, or is it a collective consciousness of the genes?
Now that I can't answer for sure, but I could definitely bring that information if that was provided within that journal study. But I do think that everything has some level of information that could be seen as intelligent or unintelligent for the most part. Everything is active. Everything is some form of energy being conducted to allow this process of this emergent process to occur, from simpler things to more complex things. And I just believe that it's all in some type of harmony, and it's actually plays like an orchestra. It's been orchestrated, the way it all seems to be coherent.
A grand design of some kind.
No,
It could be seen as that from a past tense point of view.
no, Onedrop. I think the assertion you made earlier was that we humans we are able to communicate with each other on a sophisticated level, so therefore our genes are able to do the same thing.
Well, I mean, if our genes weren't communicating as well as they were communicating, we couldn't, or the basic, our cellular structure, our atomic structure, if it wasn't doing what it was doing intelligently, we definitely couldn't do what we're doing intelligently. I mean, the only reason why we're able to even have a conversation, the only reason why we're able to even talk and speak is because of a FOXP2 gene. Now, what if this FOXP2 gene? Because that's why they're saying that, certain archaic species such as Neanderthals couldn't speak because they had a mutated FOXP2 gene, or it wasn't that it didn't evolve well enough for them to communicate at that point. So there's go ahead.
Hold on a minute though. That doesn't mean that the gene itself is communicating.
You're basically committing the fallacy of division.
Yeah.
How are you getting to the point where the gene itself is doing any kind of communicating of itself? Is that are you in this case that's the smallest unit that actually has a self-aware consciousness? Because I mean,
well, when it came to the gene,
gene
I told you like I don't have that information as far as the how.
Well, what do you think though?
What I think that everything has some form of energy that is being conducted. From
Even
the
atoms have
molecular,
intelligence.
I would say that it has some level of energy that has been conducted to pass on information from the micro to the macro.
But that's not answering my question, though. I mean,
works
do you
its way
think
up.
atoms have intelligence?
But that would mean
without atoms we wouldn't exist. I would say that.
yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
that's go
you're
ahead.
getting to the stage here now where you're saying that anything that happens, even just water flowing down a hill, is somehow intelligence. Carry a brick up a building, and that brick now has potential energy, and you drop it off the building. Is that intelligent falling?
Well, that's why I said there's certain things that I do believe are intelligent, certain things that I don't believe are intelligent, because we do have these mutations that work for the good or for the bad of an organism.
No, I'm talking about what you were talking about, this energy.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not talking about genes. I mean, we're actually down at the level of atoms and molecules here.
If I may, Fiona, I'd like to put in a good example of this. Who here has heard of the saline rocks? Anybody? Nobody knows what the saline rocks are. Basically, the rocks that move across the desert, they leave a little trail of indent behind them to make it look like as if someone pushed them along, but nobody was there. No footprints, no handprints on the rocks or anything. Just...
Yes, that rings a bell.
Okay. For quite a while, people were stumped about why this happened, and they thought maybe people were just pushing them along, just finding a clever way to do so, until a good theory finally came up. Apparently, the desert region is so cold at night that water can freeze through the desert floor in such a way that it creates a sheet of ice, and a strong enough wind can push the rocks along that sheet of ice because of the reduced friction, and the ice would melt away the next morning.
Yeah, the wandering stones, like they were mystified by it for a very long time and said, hey, they think there's got to be some kind of intelligence that's actually moving these rocks. It's aliens or people in the middle of the night, but there's no footprints, and they couldn't explain it. Well, natural phenomenon explained it.
Well, I'm using this example because what we learned from this is that just because... Oh, go ahead.
Steve, you're lagging again. You're breaking up.
Yeah, and then I mean we have to take things into consideration. Like one would say stealing is wrong, but if I steal your spotlight or if I steal your show, then I would just say from like a person that's in entertainment, that would be a good thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I stole his spot. I stole the leading commentator's spot by coming on and being articulate and being entertaining enough that now I have his job.
What?
And so I could say that Steve's signal is very intelligent right now.
No,
How did we
no.
get from these rocks to that?
Well,
No,
the rocks. That's a good explanation of it. Like what he said. Like when he first said it, I was like, okay, when? And he said it, so I definitely agree with that.
No. I'm asking you the question. How did we get from these rocks to
Well,
stealing?
Okay.
No,
I don't.
I was using a metaphor because if you study most things in science or in nature, as far as definitely in astronomy, you really can't explain the universe and how it came into existence very that well, literally. So that's why
No, no,
most cultures actually had a mythology about how the universe came into existence.
no.
Because the
One
top
drop.
leading astronomers, they will tell you that you can't literally explain everything. You can't do it.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's fine and
that's
dandy,
just
but
that's
it's
just
nothing
one
to
half.
do with what was brought up.
That wasn't half. That was half of what I was trying to explain. One drop. But what I'm saying is, just because an explanation is not immediately evident or obviously present,
I get that, yeah.
doesn't mean that intelligence is the product of it.
Right, I get that. I said that there's intelligent and unintelligent. There are things that can't be explained. There are things that can be explained. Once you measure it and you get an understanding of it, but still, that is still based on your perception of reality. Like there's animals, there's insects, uh, there's plants that might perceive that rock moving from a different perception than a human perceives it. Like you think that you're all great and you're all good, you're driving in your and you're intelligent, but a lion don't care nothing about your intelligence. It'll eat your ass. Or a wasp that's carrying some damn disease. It don't really care. Or a mosquito. It doesn't really care how many measurements you made. It'll give you it'll sit on your ass and stick you and give you some virus, and you'll get sick and possibly die if you're not intelligent enough to know what the hell is going on. So
Right,
it's
but
still intelligence is still based on our perception.
Okay. Well,
Can I
go
just say, I know we're all being very polite here, etc., but that is the biggest load of codswallop I've ever heard.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, humans are very intelligent. We build cars, but a freaking monkey might take a rock and bust your windows out.
So what?
Okay, so like, it's only based on us that our intelligence matters. It doesn't matter to any other species on the planet.
But a minute ago you had atoms being intelligent, genes
I
being
didn't say
intelligent.
I didn't say that atoms were intelligent. I said that there was an article based on the genetic code having some level of self-awareness based on preserving the code rather than create new species in order to save the species it already created. That's what I said was an article. That's not my research.
Sorry,
Thanks,
I'm lost.
Dracula.
I'm lost for words at this point.
I'm trying to understand this whole universe thing that you can't really explain everything. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, there are billions of stars and stuff like that. We really can't really explain what's really going on in every corner of the universe.
But one drop. If we really can't explain everything going on everywhere, isn't it a little dishonest to say that intelligence is the answer?
Bingo.
If you don't have all the answers, as you just stated, then how can you come to a valid conclusion about the universe as a whole?
You come to the best conclusion that your instruments allow you to come to, but you won't be able to quantify everything.
Can I just point out that one of the best conclusions to come to when you have very little information is we don't know.
Exactly.
I agree to that. I agree with you on that. Definitely.
So wouldn't it just be safer in that case to not jump the gun and just say, hey, yeah, we have no clue? Because that would be not only an intellectually honest position to hold, but a truthful one as well.
It depends on what we're talking about. Are you mean do we have no clue is based on what?
We're talking about the universe here. So
right, okay.
I'm talking.
But we have lots of clues about the universe.
Yeah, we have lots of cool clues about the universe. But I'm talking specifically about the thing that you were mentioning, which is about how all this came to be, kind of thing.
Okay, and are you talking about the aspect of the scientific approach or the theoretical approach as far as why I spoke about intelligence?
Regardless how you wish to tackle it, whether it be theological or scientific.
I mean, I'm just trying to get which exact point are you trying to make so I can discuss that.
Okay, well, basically, I'm talking about the assertion that you made that the best conclusion would be what you just said would be the case, which we all said was actually not the best conclusion to come to, because the best conclusion to come to in that case would be we have no clue. And you said something totally different than we have no clue.
What did I say?
You basically said.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. He basically said that the reason why we have such a humongous, sharp decrease in the number of new species on Earth today is because genomes are intelligently predisposed to communicate in such a way to send that signal out to all of them.
Oh, that's not my wording. That was a scientific journal. It's not my philosophy.
Okay, so wait, if that's not your philosophy, why are you asserting it to us then? Do you want us to come to our own conclusion about it?
Yeah, I mean, you can come to your own conclusion about it.
There was something else about the universe in general that, because I don't follow the whole biological aspect of the thing, but when it comes to space science, that's my forte. So I'm just trying.
When it comes to space science, when it comes to astronomy, are you telling me that you can literally explain the whole universe literally?
No.
No,
you can't.
That's why I said that sometimes the best conclusion that you can draw is we don't know.
When it comes,
I said that.
When it comes to how this whole thing came to be, like what happened, quote unquote, before the Big Bang, if there even was a before the Big Bang, that much is pretty much open to speculation, as it has been for, well, as long as we can go back, honestly. But when it comes to everything after the fact, yeah.
Well, they do have pretty good theories on what took place before the Big Bang. They do have models and.
Yeah, they have models,
the
but
Big
they
Bang
don't
is
have
still
a
a theory.
definitive answer. No, the Big Bang happened. We don't know what happened before the Big Bang.
Well, how the Big Bang happened is still a theory.
How the Big Bang happened is actually fairly solidified. It was an expansion.
Wait,
yes.
Wait, did he say it's just? Hold on. Did you just say it's just a theory?
Well, scientific theory, yeah.
Yeah, it is just a scientific
you do know
theory.
what a scientific theory means here, Onedrop.
Yeah, I do. It means that they went through it, and a lot of people went through it, and they come up with the same answer. Right. But what I'm saying is that they have other theories that actually are better than.
Okay, that would be called a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
In scientific lingo, that would be a hypothesis, not a theory.
Right, but
a theory in science is an explanation of the observations.
Yeah, but you can't observe a Big Bang, though. They haven't observed a Big Bang.
We have observed its after effects, though.
You haven't observed your brain, but we know it's
background radiation. Right. I'm
careful, Fiona. That might be a hypothesis.
No.
Further proof from Onedrop.
Not quite. Not actually.
So, in science, this theory, which explains the observations, is backed up by evidence.
Correct. There is pretty solid evidence for the Big Bang.
Well, largely physics is going to be based on empirical evidence that's mathematical in nature. I mean, it's kind of hard to travel to some of these places that take literally decades to get to. So you have mathematics as a basis for, verifying the findings of certain, astronomers.
But here's the bottom line it comes down to is this. Going by what you were explaining earlier on about the energy and all the rest of it, it would mean that you would be concluding that the cause of the Big Bang was intelligence.
Well, that is it depends on how you look at it, because you're basically dealing with vacuum energy and virtual particles expanding and inflating.
You were explaining about how this energy meant that there was intelligence earlier on.
Right.
Energy does not equal intelligence.
Exactly, but I'm
not saying that. But what I'm saying is that because you can't measure it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
I'm not being definitive on it.
What I'm saying.
Onedrop, if it can't be measured, then by definition, it can't affect anything.
No, not technically, because there's a lot of things in science that they can't really measure, but they know exist. They don't know what it
Like-
is.
Like,
Like they call it dark matter and dark energy,
no,
but
no, no, no,
they
no.
don't really know what it is.
No.
Oh,
Here's the
dear.
thing: we can actually measure how much dark matter is in a certain place by seeing
Right?
its
They just
gravitational.
right.
No,
the
we can actually
gravitational
see.
pull.
We can see its gravitational effects
Right.
on objects out there in the universe. So we actually have observation that this thing, and therefore, if we have observations of it, we can make measurements of it, and therefore it exists and it can actually affect things.
Well, does a vacuum exist?
Vacuum exists, and we can actually see its effect. Yeah,
Okay, so the vacuum.
We can
exists,
also
we
create a vacuum.
yeah, we can
Right.
create vacuum. There's
So-
vacuum pumps.
Yeah.
It's
So
extremely
can- so-
difficult, but it's possible.
So let me ask you: can you measure anything below Planck scale?
Below Planck scale? Theoretically speaking, no.
But does things exist below the Planck scale?
Not theoretically, no.
Well, we've talked about quantum foam. That's one thing, but we don't know for certain if
Right,
it
quantum
exists.
foam. Right, that's another term that they use.
hmm
Right.
I mean-
so actually, in the state where science is right now, is actually in a place of trying to know what they don't know or what we don't know.
Well, isn't that what science is? Expanding
Right,
the
of
frontiers of our
course.
knowledge.
That's
I agree.
always been the case. It's
Yeah,
never
but
not been the case.
yeah, but there's certain levels of the way science is, and certain governments actually.
Oh, okay. I want to.
Now we're getting into politics.
I want to hear
Yeah,
this.
science is politics.
Let him talk.
No, it's
So
not.
what are the governments
no,
trying to do
no,
here,
no,
One Drop?
no. Science is not politics. Sorry, but it isn't.
You just conflate the two.
Are you
whenever
gonna? Are
feel
you?
like it.
Wait. Are you gonna tell me science isn't politics? But
Science is not
No,
politics.
no.
Are you really gonna say that?
Yes,
No,
I am.
hang on.
Let me, please. Yes, I really am going to say that science isn't politics.
And I'll back her up on that.
And the reason that I'll say that is because let's look at the number for acceleration due to gravity. What is it, Red?
It's
9.81
9.81 meters per second squared.
Right, okay. Now, do Democrats and Republicans get a different value for that? Or
No,
Conservative and Labour get a different value for that? Or if
Well,
you're
yeah.
left wing, do you get a different value from a right winger?
Well, when I say
No.
science, when I say science and politics, I mean like